Today we read from the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 16, verses 1 to 15. I'm convinced that Jesus had a sense of humour, a really strong one, a fine sense of irony, and a certain amount of slapstick, and even occasional mockery. It would have got the crowds listening to him, and the caricature, like the one in today's story, would have really entertained them. He's not commending dishonesty, of course, but shrewdness. Another time he said we should be as wise as serpents and innocent as doves. A tricky balance, but showing that we are expected to use our brains as we try to work out how to live the Christian life in our own context. Luke tags some sayings about money onto the end of this story, bringing the focus on the question of the place of money, of wealth, in our lives. How much does it matter? Of course, it's easy to say that money doesn't matter when we have plenty of it, much harder when it's scarce. Jesus had little or none, we assume, once he had stopped working as the village carpenter. So this means more coming from him. You cannot serve God and wealth, he said. He means one of the two has to be our first priority. They can't both be on the top spot. And once you move God to level 2, then by definition, that's not your God. Your God is whatever is on level 1, whether that's money or something else. The Bible also calls this idolatry, worshipping something that's not really God, putting something else first. It's harder to avoid than you might think. Idolatry is not just about statues. Jesus knew that for many people what comes first in their lives is actually money, material wealth. He touched a nerve for the Pharisees, who were apparently lovers of money. How familiar that sounds. How much our society revolves around acquisition of material things. We even refer to shopping as retail therapy. Well, shopping can give a lift, a temporary sense of happiness. It can counteract feelings of gloom or sadness in the short term, but retail therapy is not recommended by mental health professionals as an adequate way to cope. It can lead to compulsive spending habits and financial stress. Like any addiction, it satisfies less and less and has to be done more and more to achieve the same effect. Happiness will not come with another pair of shoes or the latest fashion accessory. Compulsive buying has significantly risen in recent times, and partly because of the evolution of online shopping. So Jesus' challenge is bang up to date. You cannot serve God and wealth. The shrewd follower of Jesus will avoid the allure of materialism. One of the reasons why giving is such an important part of the life of faith is that it helps us practice generosity, parting with our money without benefit to ourselves, except that it does benefit us in a way, in a spiritual and moral way. Giving on a regular basis and in generous amounts is a vital spiritual discipline, as it helps us keep our priorities straight. It helps us avoid this form of idolatry. It helps us loosen the grasp on us which money can hold. Giving, not grasping, is good for us, and it reflects the generous bounty of God's blessings. Clergy often observe that people in poorer parishes give proportionately more than those in more affluent parishes. A paradox, but perhaps one that reflects attitudes and priorities. Jesus commended the widow who gave her last 2 coins as an offering at the temple. The rich who gave ostentatiously, he was less impressed by. We should never give to create a good impression. Do not let your left hand know what your right is doing, is the true spirit of sacrificial giving.